Welcome back to another Sunday walk video. It is miserable right now. It's 90 degrees, it's humid, I'm getting bit by mosquitoes. Really don't want to be walking at this time, but I missed last week, so I gotta just tough it out and speak my mind about Bitcoin and crypto, which is why you guys are turned in right now, because you want to know what the hell's going on. How do we go from last week or the prior week before that? How do we go from super bullish to now somehow super bearish? What's changed within a single week? Well, let's talk about it. First of all, I think the big narrative for this last week is recession. We haven't really talked about recession since, 2022, I would say. A lot of talk about recession because we had Jerome Powell raise the Fed fund rate rapidly, the fastest ever in history, right, to our current level, like 5.25 to 5.5%. And back then, after the stimulus checks stopped flowing, obviously we still had discrepancy with the economy in terms of jobs, unemployment, just overall sentiment, manufacturing, housing. All the data was just like all screwy. But in 2022, we had a lot of talk about recession, right? Because things were slowing down on purpose, actually, by Federal Powell because of the higher rates. They were slowed down on purpose to get people to stop spending money and to get people to basically get people to be more broke, basically. Because the more broke they are, the less they'll spend and buy things, and hopefully it would decrease inflation, right? So there were a lot of talks about that in 2022. 2023, obviously things got better because a lot more people actually found jobs, businesses started recovering a little bit. Inflation we started hearing about coming down, right? Whether that's true or not. And then in 2024, now we're in 2024, it's looking good. A lot of talks about, hey, we're finally going to get that very first rate cut, right? A lot of people thought it was going to come sooner. The markets were soaring because not only in anticipation of the very first cut, but also we have a presidential election this year. Things were looking good. But now we're getting recession talks once again. So what the hell happened? And sorry why you may be wondering why I'm itching so much, because there are so many damn mosquitoes out right now and I'm getting eaten alive. So what happened now? Well, a lot of you guys are regulars. So when we were waiting for signs of a cut, we actually want to see bad economic data. So whenever unemployment came in hotter than expected, jobs report came weaker than expected, consumer sentiment came in weaker than expected, like bad economic data actually caused the market to go up, because Wall Street is thinking, well, yeah, this is what we want to see, because this is going to force Powell to give us our very first rate cut sooner than later. And earlier this year, Powell did announce that, hey, we're going to get 3 rate cuts this year. I forgot when he announced it, like maybe in February. So that made the market really hopeful. Like, hey, you know what? We're going to get 3 rate cuts. And usually with the rate cuts, you get liquidity flowing, you get a lot more activity, and business start borrowing more, banks start borrowing more, everyone borrowing more, giving it out. That's why Wall Street, basically earlier this year, the first half of this year, and all the way up and probably maybe until like a month ago, was booming. And it was like bizarro world. So when we got bad economic data, the market's actually soared. But for the last 2 weeks, maybe a little bit longer, but seems like the last 2 weeks, things change. We're not in bizarro world anymore. Now, bad economic data is actually bringing down the markets. And I even had people ask me this in a live chat, like, what's changed? Why are we now seeing this? It's because now things have gotten so bad, Wall Street is thinking that we're going to actually go into recession. In fact, according to one metric, the SAM rule, we're technically in recession already. And if we go by other definitions, like what, 2 or 3 consecutive GDP drops, you know, that's technically a recession. But we kind of just like, everyone just like glanced over that. But we have this new rule, the SAM rule, that says we're in recession. So this is no good. So that's why this last week we saw unemployment go up, jobs report coming way lower than expected, right? And jobless claims also went up. And then we also had some very horrible earning reports. A lot of companies reported horribly, giving horrible forecasts as well. So now Wall Street's like, uh-oh, we're ready in August. We're not going to have time for 3 rate cuts. When is the next rate cut? It's going to be in September, and it's mid to September. It's not even early September. So basically, Wall Street is now starting to panic because all the data is showing that we are really going backwards. We're not actually adding jobs anymore. We're not actually, as a country, as an economy, doing well. We're going in reverse. People are starting to lose jobs. That's why unemployment is going up. So it's not like before where, you know, the labor market was out of whack. And what did Powell say? There was like 5 open jobs to every worker available. That's not the case anymore. So that's why we're in a situation we're in now. A lot of recession fears. And that's why the market started coming down. At least a broader US market, right? And it's not just the US. Japan is suffering too. Japan's currency situation is so dire that their central bank finally decided to raise rates rather than cut. They're the only country that's going through this because they held a negative interest rate policy for like ever, basically, and it's really hurting them. Their currency has devalued against the dollar by more than 50% and continues to drop. So they're in a dire situation too. And other countries also the same thing. The Eurozone, a lot of the countries are going through the same thing. People are not making as much money. People are losing their jobs. Overall economies from all major countries are suffering. China has the same problem. China has a bigger problem with their real estate market. And the whole thing may collapse. So it's not just a US thing. But yeah, so this is the reason why world markets are actually getting crushed right now. Everyone is selling off. I think that has a lot to do with why Bitcoin sold off. Because we were fine, because the week prior, right, leading up to the conference, Bitcoin was climbing up, hit 70,000, right? A lot of enthusiasm over what Trump was going to say, what new policies may be later this year, you know, the cut and everything else that was happening. ETF inflows were still massive, right? We got the ETH inflow. So this last week, things really changed because of this. We had FUD already. I mean, I've talked about FUD for so long, like the Mt. Gox FUD, the Germany FUD, Department of Justice FUD. Now, this week we had Genesis FUD. We had, I don't know what else FUD. I mean, there's FUD left and right. But it seemed like Bitcoin was holding strong. Despite all of it, we recovered after Germany sold. right? We did dip prior to like 53,000. We came all the way back to 70,000. The Mt. Gox is nearly complete. It hasn't really done much. Genesis just recently distributed like $1.5 billion. So maybe that has something to do with it too. Today I saw that Raoul Paul was talking about maybe jump trading is liquidating. But looking at ARK, I'm looking at their wallet. Seems like they haven't been selling. I mean, they've been selling, but it's been a while, not recently. They still have like 500 million left in their wallet. So I'm not so sure they're going to be liquidating, but yeah, outside of that, I can't really find any more FUD. But I think right now there's definitely some panic with the broader market that's bringing everything down, right? But overall, you guys know me. Even as of right now, as I'm filming this, Bitcoin's like 58.8. Earlier today, it fell down to 57 before recovering back up a little bit. It does seem like there are a lot of liquidations right now. Unfortunately, on the wrong side, the long liquidations are driving things lower. And also there is some kind of entity that is dumping. So unfortunately, we're going through one of those periods right now where it just kind of sucks. I know, alts took a beating once again. Kind of like when Bitcoin went to 53 a few months ago, alts took a beating. But then alts started gaining back up with Bitcoin once we started recovering back up to 70,000, right? So overall, it's just one of those periods. Okay, some of you guys understand this, some of you guys don't, so I have to repeat it, but every cycle, every stage, we have these up and down moments. A lot of times we have a lot of downs. If you're a long-term holder, it really doesn't matter. Yes, your portfolio goes down, but they're unrealized. They're either unrealized losses or unrealized gains. You don't really lose until you sell. And long-term holders are not selling. All long-term holders continue to accumulate, and you can see that the big whale accumulation addresses continue to load up, continue to add more. Okay, so long-term holders, the smart money, they are buying, while lettuce hands, a lot of retail investors, a lot of people on Wall Street that don't understand treating Bitcoin like a tech stock, they're selling. Right? It's okay. It's okay. Let them sell so the rest of us can continue to accumulate more. That's how I see it, because I know we're going to go back up. Sentiment changes so fast. We went from greed 2 weeks ago to fearful last week. Who's to say this week we won't turn back into greed, right? I guess we'll have to see tomorrow and the rest of this week, because if the markets continue to tank, maybe Chair Powell will be forced to do an emergency meeting where they may actually do a rate cut this month, because there's no planned FOMC meetings this month. But if the markets continue to sell off and off and off and off, he's going to have to make a choice. Even though he has said before, you know, the broader stock market doesn't affect my decision. Oh yeah, he's under a lot of pressure. He's under a lot of pressure to make things better at this point. So who knows? We'll see how the broader market is. It is very, very oversold. I mean, the tech sector lost trillions this last week. Man, Amazon, Nvidia, Microsoft, Facebook, you got Intel, AMD, and the rest. They all sold off massively, losing trillions. So if Wall Street is smart, some of them will start buying this week. But maybe there's so much panic over recession fears that it doesn't matter and we're still in the red. But when it comes to Bitcoin, we know that Bitcoin was created because of all the shenanigans. All the shenanigans we're going through now, we had in prior years. Especially in 2008, when we kind of had the same thing, when it seemed like the entire system was going to fail. The entire banking system, financial system was going to fail across the globe because all the banks are all connected together. If the central banks didn't step in and force them to take money, we would have gone into the dark ages. Everything would have collapsed. That's why Bitcoin was created, because Satoshi did not like what he saw and decided to do something about it. Decided to create something that was not controlled by any centralized entity, not controlled by any Fed or government, controlled by the people, by the code. That's it. That's why we have Bitcoin. And more people are starting to understand that. That's why I cover all the bullish news and bullish people that truly now believe in Bitcoin, because they see what's going on. They're veterans, Wall Street veterans. They know what's going on. They hate it too. And that's why they're embracing Bitcoin. Larry Fink is one of them. Let's not forget that super endorsement interview that he did like 4 weeks ago. Maybe it was 3 weeks ago, where he basically talked about how Bitcoin is just like the best asset to hold because of everything, like the dollar debasing, fiat's debasing around the world, and he believes in Bitcoin. He believes the asset that could hold its value and will continue to go up. And he said a lot more than that. But Larry Fink and BlackRock, huge believer now. Just look at the BlackRock inflows. It's up every day, no matter what. Even with Bitcoin falling, it's up. He continues to buy and buy and buy. Standard Chartered, one of the biggest banks in Europe, their CEO, the same thing. Super bullish about Bitcoin. Thinks Bitcoin's go head to 250,000 by the end of the cycle. Van Eyck, CEO Van Eyck, said that recently too. Bitcoin to 350,000. He has 30% of his portfolio in Bitcoin. And others that we haven't heard about for a while. Paul Tesoro Jones, Bill Miller. Of course, we got Mike Novogratz. We still have the biggest bull of them all, Michael Saylor, that continues to load up. Guys that truly understand, they're not panicking over what's going on with Wall Street, with markets right now. They continue to use the opportunity to load up on Bitcoin. That's it. That's really what it comes down to. Just having the patience to get through the bad times, to HODL and DCA. It's really the only strategy, and that's what I'm doing. And hopefully you guys are staying strong and realizing that no charts or no metric, nothing like that is really going to change anything. Just know that every cycle we have these periods where we go down. It's natural. We could be in an overbought situation. We could have some kind of FUD. We could have some entity that's dumping. We could have some geopolitical thing like a war that's happening that causes it. Every single cycle we have something happen. But every single cycle, just know that Bitcoin forms a higher high and a higher low. Every time we have a low, it's much higher than the previous low from the previous cycles. Just know that. All right, guys. That's pretty much it. I just want you guys to stay strong, stay focused, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, usual time. It is just miserable for me right now. Not because of my portfolio. It is seriously so humid right now, 90 degrees, and because I'm in a forest, I'm getting eaten alive by all the mosquitoes and bugs, and I'm going to pay for it tonight because I know I'm going to be itchy all over. All right, guys, smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Have a good one. Bye-bye.